All right, so welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're looking into something a little different.
Okay.
We got this repeated phrase that one of you sent in, and it was repeated 6 times.
6 times.
Now,
Wow.
create an exciting decision tree, exploring the research of social skills. And
Interesting.
so, you know, on the surface, this is like a pretty simple note to self,
Yeah.
right? Like you could just say that once and remember it,
Right.
but it was written down 6 times. So that's what kind of got our attention here.
Yeah. I mean,
What's the deal with that? What's going on?
that repetition definitely makes you think like, why did they write this down 6 times?
Yeah.
It must have been a pretty impactful thought or idea that they had.
I know, it's like they stumbled onto something big and they just kept
Yeah.
having to come back to it.
Right.
Like I picture someone just pacing back and forth,
Yeah.
muttering this under their breath as they try to
Totally.
work out the details and everything.
For sure.
It makes me wonder what they were working on,
Yeah.
when they wrote this.
That's a good question.
But before we get too far into it, I think we should probably break this down a little bit.
Yeah.
So for anyone who's not already super familiar with them, like what exactly ES is a decision tree?
So a decision tree is basically like a visual flate chart.
Okay.
You can think of it kind of like a choose your own adventure story for decisions.
Interesting.
And they're actually used in a bunch of different fields.
Oh, really? Like what?
Yeah, like from finance to medicine. And we're going to talk about how they can be applied to
Yeah.
social skills research too.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, so you start with like this central question or problem,
Okay.
and then you branch out into different possibilities and like what the consequences of each choice could be.
Okay, so give me an example. Like how would that actually work in real life?
Sure. So like imagine you're trying to decide what to wear in the morning.
Okay.
The central question would be like, what's the weather like today?
Right.
And then you'd have branches for different weather possibilities.
Right.
So like if it's sunny, maybe you wear a t-shirt, but if it's rainy, you grab a jacket.
Right. That makes sense.
Exactly.
And so you're saying that this same structure can be applied to social interactions too.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So like how would that work? Like could a decision tree help someone figure out
Oh, absolutely.
those little subtle cues that we encounter in
Yeah.
everyday conversations?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh.
So you could think of it as like a roadmap to help you navigate all of those complex social dynamics,
Okay.
those unspoken rules and patterns that we follow when we interact with each other.
Okay.
So for example, the first branch in your social skills decision tree could be, is this person making eye contact with me?
Okay.
And then if the answer is yes, you would follow one path down the tree.
All right.
But if the answer is no, then you might consider other things like their posture. Are they smiling? What's the overall context of the situation?
Okay, so it's like you're breaking it down step by step.
Exactly. And there's actually research to show that consistent eye contact makes people seem more trustworthy. So if someone is making eye contact with you, that branch of the tree might lead to a decision to engage with them further.
Oh, so this could actually help people make decisions in real time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like having a framework for analyzing those social cues that we all get, but that often leave us feeling a little bit unsure.
You know what? This is actually making me think about how I approach conversations now.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there are other research findings that we could use to build out this decision tree
Oh, absolutely.
even further.
Yeah, there's actually this whole area of research called social information processing theory.
Oh,
And it basically uses this step-by-step model to explain how we interpret and respond to social cues.
okay.
So we could totally integrate that into our social skills decision tree.
Interesting.
One of the key elements of that theory is this idea of encoding cues.
What's that?
So that's basically where we're perceiving and interpreting the information that we're getting from someone, like their tone of voice or their body language.
Oh, right.
And the decision tree would basically guide you to pay attention to those details
Okay.
and to make connections between them.
Gotcha. So what would come after that?
So the next step is this process called interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we actually try to understand what those cues mean.
Oh, okay.
So for example, if someone is frowning and they're not making eye contact with you,
Yeah.
is it because they're upset with you or are they just having a bad day?
Right.
And the decision tree could actually give you prompts to help you consider those different interpretations
Okay.
before you react.
So this is actually getting really interesting now.
Yeah.
It sounds like this theoretical decision tree could actually be a really powerful tool
Absolutely.
for anybody who finds it hard to navigate those
Absolutely.
social situations.
Yeah. Yeah, it can help break down those complex interactions into these smaller, more manageable steps. And I think that would really help reduce anxiety and increase confidence for people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've talked about what decision trees are and how they could be used in social skills research.
Yeah.
We've even touched on some specific research that could inform the different branches of the tree.
Mhm.
And all of this has come from this one simple little phrase repeated 6 times.
I know, it's amazing where a deep dive can take you.
It really is. And it makes you think, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
What would your decision tree look like?
Yeah. What are the key decisions and the cues and the responses that you would include to navigate your own social life?
It's a great question to think about and maybe even try to answer on your own time.
Yeah.
Maybe sketch out your own social skills decision tree.
Yeah.
You might be surprised by what you learn about yourself and about this whole fascinating world of social interaction.
Yeah, it's really interesting stuff.
It's, it is well. That's all the time we have for today. But as always, keep those submissions coming, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Bye, everyone.